Hey, Drew, I'm getting arrested, Drew. I'm getting arrested. I'm getting arrested, Drew. I'm getting out, bro. God damn, twin.
When we tell you to do something, you do it. You understand?
I'm getting out,
you understand? Not what you want, but what we tell you. You're a little confused.
That was police body cam footage showing the moment that Miami Dolphins star Tyreek Hill was handcuffed on Sunday. The incident happened just hours before the Dolphins and Jacksonville Jaguars game. In the footage released by the Miami-Dade Police Department, officers can be seen forcibly removing Hill from his car approximately a minute after being pulled over. Hill was let go and later participated in the game.
After Sunday's game, Tyreek Hill commented on the matter.
Right now, so I've been trying to figure that out too. I've been trying to figure that out too, man. Right now, I'm still trying to put it all together. So I'm not gonna give you a version that I still don't know what happened. You know what I'm saying? But I do want to be able to use this platform to say, like, what if I wasn't Tyreek Hill, bro? Like, worst case scenario, because it's crazy. Like, I want to be a cop one day. I got a state trooper hat, all that, so I got a lot of respect for cops, man. But obviously, everybody has bad apples in every situation, so I want to be able to, use this platform, to figure out a way to, like, flip this and, make it a positive on both ends, on my end and then also Miami-Dade.
Now, Miami-Dade police ended up releasing 105 minutes of footage in what they say is an effort to be transparent. Now, I watched most of that interaction from the point they pulled over Tyreek Hill to the point they arrested him. And there was a point where the cop, asked, can you roll down your window? He rolled down his window. He was asked for his license and registration and rolled it back up. And there's a lot of conversation about that really being the only order that he didn't comply with that was direct from police. Later on in the footage, you'll hear 7 or so officers that rolled up on motorcycles. I think at least it was 4 officers directly giving Tyreek commands that were conflicting. A few of his teammates pulled up because they saw everyone going into the game. They were about to play football on Sunday. And so because he had an agent that he was able to call quickly and these teammates that were willing to pull over for him and actually violate traffic laws in order to do so to ensure their teammate was safe, because as they said, they called Drew, who is the agent, and they said they're beating on Tyreek Hill. And so to ask the question, what if this wasn't Tyreek Hill and this was a usual traffic stop? We wouldn't have the media attention. We certainly wouldn't have the footage released this quickly. And so it's a good question to pose, and it's not one I have an answer for.
Well, sure. He should not be treated differently than anyone else, and he did disobey a pretty basic order to keep your window down. You have to keep your window down during a police stop. That's
actually not the law in Miami, which is why it's under question. Is that the Miami-Dade directive?
Yeah, they told him to, and he should. Look, I don't think his behavior was all that great. He should have done. They were telling him to do very basic things, keep the window rolled down, but I do think they also absolutely escalated things unnecessarily. If you wrestle someone out of the car, you throw him against the ground, like, for what? He didn't threaten you. He didn't make any threatening gesture. He didn't get physical. He just didn't put his window back down quickly enough or with enough enthusiasm. That's not, to me, a basis for the police to start swearing at him and then actually handcuff him in that aggressive manner. If you're the police, you want to de-escalate matters. You only want to take forceful action if it's strictly necessary, because it creates more of a headache for the police. Now those officers got to be investigated, and there has to be an internal affairs investigation. They're going to be off duty while that's pending. It's like all this headache and paperwork and publicity for no reason, because they could have just been a little nicer about it, and he should have been as well. So I'm not at all going to let him off the hook here. This seems like a case where, good thing we have body cam footage and people can decide for themselves, but everyone in that situation could have been a little less hot-headed, and then it would have been fine, would be my takeaway.
Right. Well, I think the officers were clearly the ones that were hot-headed in this situation. Tyreek Hill, throughout the entire interaction, was extremely calm. I am shocked at how well he handled this. especially as someone who's amped up about to go play a football game. I mean, that's a situation where your emotions are involved, your testosterone's at a high. So the fact that he was so calm throughout this entire interaction, he was well within his rights to keep his window rolled up while he grabbed his information, his registration, to give it back to the officer. I have a big question around whether or not we truly have civil rights against an unreasonable search and seizure or to freely move about public spaces if suddenly you have to obey every police officer's command. Supposedly, we have rights that suggest we don't have to obey every police officer's command. We have rights to not show identification. We have rights to not be searched. And so, this idea that suddenly it's against the law for disobeying an officer, that sounds to me like a fundamental infringement on our rights, and we don't see enough cases questioned constitutionally on that basis. And so I would like to see something come out of this that's a larger question about what rights we truly have if we have to obey everything an officer tells us to do. Because supposedly Tyreek Hill was well within his rights. This was a traffic violation that's a fine of about $30. The idea that he was yanked out of his car, thrown to the ground, and arrested for having his window rolled up while he reached over to grab his registration is shocking to me. And so I'm very interested to see what comes out of this. Tyreek Hill is obviously known as a controversial figure for having a couple run-ins with the law in his past. But in this situation, seeing the way he interacted with the police, I wouldn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, being excited about a football game is not an excuse for speeding and reckless driving. Now, I don't know how fast he was going, or if obviously sometimes people are pulled over by the police and you're like, I'm 5 over in a, well, come on, it's ridiculous. It's happened to all of us. But, just not liking that you're being pulled over the police. Nobody likes interacting with the police. Nobody likes getting a ticket. Nobody likes getting stopped. We all have but I had to, it wasn't my fault, blah, blah, blah story. I've had those stories before. You probably have too, Jessica. So I get it. Nobody enjoys paying speeding tickets or parking tickets or interacting with the police. But, you do have to be contrite and do what they say during the interaction, and then you get a ticket or don't, and you drive off, and that's just like how life goes. You can't be, well, I'm some famous football player, so I don't have to do what they're telling me to do, and I can complain about it, and et cetera. But again, I'm not being too harsh on him because he mostly did what they wanted, and he did say, well, just write me the ticket and get it over with. And sometimes the police make you wait forever, and he wanted to get to the game. I understand it, but I don't want different or special treatment for him. I just want good treatment from the police for everybody.
Yeah, I think if it's a hot day in Miami and you want to roll your window up while you go get your registration from the other side of your car, and you're within your rights legally to do that, to be pulled out of the car and arrested because this cop pulled up screaming at him, it just feels like a misuse of power. These officers were way out of line. And I think it would be smart for, Tyreek Hill to press charges against these officers. And to hear the response of the Miami Dolphins after the game, it was really interesting. Their offensive line coach has been in the media a lot. He was in his aviators doing his usual press conference after the game, and he got kind of emotional. And he is someone who is white, and he said, the thing that messes me up, he used a different word, the most about this is that I don't understand what that feels like to be in that situation. And that's really what's messing me up. And this was after the footage was released. I don't know if he had seen it yet. But just to hear the response from the Dolphins and from the NFL, he actually did a touchdown celebration in the game where he was put in handcuffs by a teammate, making fun of how the officers had treated him out there. But I really think, this gets to the heart of the issue, and the NFL has fired people for their protests around Black Lives Matter before. And so I would like to see the NFL change, their tune on this now that so many sports fans are paying close attention to this. And even people I would expect to be critical based on their political persuasion have been extremely outraged with the Miami-Dade police there, which I think is heartening. I think because the footage is out there, because they were wearing their body-worn cameras and they were turned on, we can have a conversation about this. And I think Tyreek Hill can actually sue where his rights were violated there.
Well, I'm definitely in favor of body cam footage for helping to clear up situations like this, but as evidence from our conversation, there can still be debate. What do you, the viewer, think about this? Let us know in the comments. We'll have more Rising in just a minute.